Okay, everybody, this is it. We finally end things off with Matt's Pick of the Week, and this is something that I am absolutely sure that a lot of you want to hear me talk about. Now, this was pretty much one of the biggest things that people have been discussing, and of course, this is going to be regarding Sausage Party. Now, on its opening weekend, for a small moment, people were just celebrating this movie, how it came out as such a hilarious R-rated animated comedy, and hopefully this would bring in the promise for more R-rated comedies that, you know, they'll make more animated features that's not for kids, that they'll do it for adults, and we'll see a lot of things like some of the nastiness that Sausage Party would ensue, like a lot of really gross out violence, or just giant pile of orgies everywhere and all that kind of nasty stuff, and no filtering on the languages, and you know, all that sort of nasty crap that makes Sausage Party beautiful. But the celebration was soon pretty much finished off, because of course, controversy erupted regarding what's actually been going on behind the scenes, and pretty much everything fell apart. And it just goes to show that rather it be with or without the Sony Pictures Animation name, Sony will always find a way to distribute movies made by animators with very poor treatment and pretty much have been abused. Now, for those of you who don't know what pretty much happened, let me tell you a little story. Now, this actually all began on Cartoon Brew, when they decided to pretty much post out an interview, you know, pretty much your run-of-the-mill interview with the directors and stuff like that, with Conrad Vernon and Greg Tiernan, pretty much talking about how production went, and the fact that Sausage Party has such a really small budget. I mean, they had to make it for less than $20 million. So they were pretty much proud of it. But the real story is not on that Cartoon Brew article. It's actually the comments section of the Cartoon Brew article, where many animators who worked on the film that kept themselves anonymous actually revealed some dark truths regarding what happened. Just reading a few of them right here. The production costs were kept low because Greg would demand people to work overtime for free. If you wouldn't work late for free, your work would be assigned to someone who would stay late or come in on the weekend. Some artists were even threatened with termination for not staying late to hit a deadline. The animation department signed a petition for better treatment and paid overtime. When the letter got to Annapurna, they stepped in and saw that the artists were paid and fed when overtime was needed. Over 30 animators left during the course of the production due to stress and expectations. Most of them left before the paid overtime was implemented. This was meant with animosity and was taken as a personal insult to the owners. Their name was omitted from the final credits despite working for over a year on the film. Another one stated that almost half the animation team was not credited. The team believed in this film and poured their hearts and souls into it. Despite this, more than half of it was not credited. You could see the full team on IMDb, which contains 83 people, and I am certain that there are some missing. The film's credit, however, contains 47. So that's pretty much the comments that did come out of it. And some of these even included working with Greg and Nitrogen Productions was a nightmare for any artist. We believe in that project and stayed despite that fact. I personally know and witnessed many other incidents during the production, such as an open letter to the clients and how Greg threatened artists for it. And this pretty much went really out of hand. Pretty much it started off right there in the comment section, and what ended up happening is that other big film news sites, they actually stepped in and they pretty much discussed about it. In fact, I actually have with me not just so like I was pretty much reading like the full like most of the article that came out of dorkly.com, but I also like got other sources as well. Like this is the first time I'm actually using multiple sources to cover a story, not just from Dorkly, but I'm also checking from Variety that covered the same thing, and also Deadline. And what's very interesting is that in these articles, they actually revealed a lot more regarding this situation, pretty much discussing about what has been going on in the production and revealing more of the same horror stories that's been going on with the treatment that they've received from Greg Tiernan and also at Nitrogen Studios. In fact, let me actually read another one here. This is from my source here in Variety, that the animator, actually starting off right here, people who go in to talk to Greg Tiernan or give their notice that oh wait, hold on, sorry, let me restart that. People will go in to talk to Greg or give their notice, and there'd be screaming about being blacklisted, said one animator. The animator claimed that Nitrogen had no human resource staff, so any complaints about working conditions had to be made to line producer Nicole Stein. And there's actually a real problem doing that, because the thing is with Nicole Stein, she is actually Greg Tiernan's wife. There was no one you can go to. It was uncomfortable. And basically, this is what pretty much has been happening. And as regard to Nitrogen Studios and Greg Tiernan, what they had to say about it, they actually did mention, like, they actually hit back and they did discuss about what's been going on. Greg Tiernan actually said, these claims are without merit. Our production adhered to all overtime laws and regulations, as well as our contractual obligations with our artists. And he also mentioned that we take these things seriously and don't want to ignore these claims. Now, yeah, with all that said, like, people are pretty much trying to figure out, like, what has been going on, and, like, such a terrible story that's pretty much been unleashing, and rather very unfortunate that this has pretty much been going on. And, like, if I may say a little bit of my piece into this, that, like, even though, no, I didn't really work on the animation of Sausage Party, but, like, hearing these horror stories going on, it's actually, it's sad and terrible at the same time. And it really is unfortunate how these animators ended up really get treated badly throughout this production just to go and make this movie. And the thing is that with $20 million, with a $20 million budget, I mean, like, I understand that you have to find ways to cut down costs, but this is absolutely ridiculous, and that's honestly really is taking a step too far. I mean, like, I understand trying to work overtime to go and meet deadlines. I'm sure that does happen all the time. But trying to work overtime for free, that's really crossing the line. So not only are you taking away some of the you're taking away some of the personal time of these animators to go out and relax, to have their own lives, like, already dealing with the stress, working on their regular hours, working on this movie, but also the fact that they have to work, you have to make them work for free. That is honestly taking a step too far, and that should honestly be illegal. That should not be allowed whatsoever. That definitely is abuse. That's almost in the levels of slavery even. And especially hearing about the tyranny of about Greg Tiernan, and pretty much how forceful he really is. And it's actually interesting how it's not really, surprisingly enough, this is not Sony's fault. Like, they didn't really have much they didn't really have much sorry about that, but they did nothing wrong. There's nothing really wrong that they did, really. And on top of that, there's also Conan Vernon, which not many people really criticize about, but it's mostly about Greg Tiernan and the condition that they've worked on in Nitrogen Studios. In fact, there's another story mentioning how things were going fine when Nitrogen was just working on the Thomas the Tank Engine, like direct-to-DVD movies. Like, it was going okay, not the best working conditions, but it was going fine. But once Greg Tiernan came in, pretty much what happened afterwards was like a total nightmare for the animators. And everywhere from what I've heard from left to right, there are many animators anonymously. They stepped up and pretty much tried to reveal the dark stories that's been going on. And honestly, this is just terrible. Now the thing is, as I stated before, it really is terrible that they had the fact that they had to work overtime for free, like that was pretty bad. But also, like, what does make that even worse is the fact that Greg Tiernan, like, he forced them to do it. It's like, this is something that has to be expected from them. Now, if this was an optional thing, I would be questioning more about like the fact that they had to do it for free. But you know, if the animators are enthusiastic about it, if they felt like it paid off, then I guess like more power to them, I guess. But I would still be questioning about like, you know, working overtime for free. But the fact that you had to be forced to work overtime for free, like you have to do that or else you're fired. That is really where it's taking it too far. And that's where it does feel like it's terrible that you have to force their personal time away to work on this film without pay even. That you don't pay the animators for the overtime, just for the regular hours. And that honestly is ridiculous. And like, I can imagine that this could really damage many artists and animators psychologically, because they pretty much lost all their personal time. They're pretty much exiled from the outside world just to work on weekends and to work late hours to do this job on Sausage Party, just so you can cut down costs to make the movie cheap, you know, to make the movie less than $20 million, to have almost the exact same budget as Norm of the North, basically. Seriously, where Sausage Party is estimated to have a $19 million budget, Norm of the North has an $18 million budget. And honestly, like, a lot of people would say that it is an amazing feat how Sausage Party came out like this with a $20 million budget. But if it was done like that, then hell no, that's not really a good thing. But also, another element that really does take it a step way too far, not only that they were forced to work overtime, and not only that they had to be forced to work overtime and not get pay for it, is that most of the animators end up not getting credit. And that is honestly a personal insult, if anything. Like, that would be, like, for an animator, it's one of the ultimate payments to work on an animated feature, is that at least they would have their name in the credits. Like, one of the worst examples that recently happened, actually, it was for the animated short Cosmic Scratastrophe that they put before the Peanuts movie. And I understand that technically it was made for Ice Age Collision Course, but it was actually very insulting over the fact that what they just did in terms of the animators. They say thank you to all the animators who worked on the Cosmic Scratastrophe, and pretty much that's it. No, they don't want, like, pretty much saying that is the equivalent of a politician saying, my thoughts and prayers are with those who have died. It means jack all. Like, they want to see their names associated with that movie so that they can actually put it in their resume and actually make it believable that they have actually contributed to that movie or animated short or whatever. The fact that over 30 animators got their name left out of Sausage Party, and like, so far that's pretty much just the small estimates between how much there are on IMDb in contrast to how many there are in the Sausage Party movie. That is actually really insulting for many animators, that even though that yes, maybe they have quit, like many of them did quit early, like they quit before the movie was even complete. And yes, like they pretty much experienced some of the worst times of their lives, but at least, like at the very least, it would be nice that their names would be associated so that they can, so that for like if they want to get hired for another job, they would go and work on something that actually, you know, they'll work on a movie, and they'll have and like the people hiring them would have confidence bringing in someone who has previously worked on a feature film like Sausage Party. But no, they don't even get that, you know, they don't even get that credit. They don't even get that merit. Instead, it's like they pretty much got their names removed. And there's no way in frickin' hell that just 47 animators would work on this one mainstream animated feature. It's impossible. Like, seriously, it's enough that, like, with the movie that that this film has a low budget, and, like, honestly, since it is a cheap, like, since the budget is cheap, the animation did come out looking cheap as well. Like, it's enough, but, like, for God's sakes, you can't just go out and exclude some animators just because they quit. That's not how it works. If they personally worked on the project, then they had to be, you know, they have to have their name in the credits. It's just like what, you know, like take a look at Pixar's The Good Dinosaur. Now, even though that it is directed by Peter Sohn, the original concept and everything, it was thought up by Bob Peterson. Now, unfortunately, Pixar did fire him to, you know, they did fire him because he wouldn't make a good director for this film. They did still credit it, they still credit Bob Peterson that this was his original idea, that he did contribute to that film. I mean, just because those people quit doesn't mean that they deserve to have credit, to have their names be associated, you know? They gotta, like, even though, like, the only way that it would be acceptable, the way that it would be okay for that to actually happen, is that they would personally ask themselves to have their names no longer be associated with this movie, to have their name taken away from the credits. Like, that's the only time when it's acceptable. Like, okay, fine, whatever. But, you know, like, for an animated film, like, for animators who always have to seek out a job, like, they wanna at least have these credits. And who wouldn't, like, they would love to be associated with Sausage Party, even if they got, like, even if they had such a horrible time, at least they contributed to this R-rated animated feature that everybody seems to like, and it's actually doing well at the box office. So at least they want to say that they contributed to a hit animated feature. But no, they don't even get the credits for that. That is just, honestly, in that regards, that is just absolutely stupid. Now, with that said, some of you might be wondering, like, why is this happening? Like, overall, how could this even happen? How can companies like Nitrogen and people like Greg Tiernan can get away with by being so abusive to their animators? How can they be such in the wrong with that? Like, how can they just go out and act like a total tyrant, and, you know, like, they could get away with it scot-free, like nothing bad can happen to them? Well, I'll tell you why. And this is actually very interesting, and this is a point that's actually brought up by Deadline, and the big reason is actually because Sausage Party was made in Vancouver. And the thing is, with Vancouver, the one thing that they do not have is an animation union. And the thing is with unions is that I'm sure with many artists and animators, you understand, like, how it is to be in a union. Like, once you do join a union, like, you make sure, like, once you're in a union, you make sure that you're paid by this amount, you get treated this way, and you get these benefits as you are as an animator working on an animated project. That's the important thing about being in a union. There is no Canadian animation union. And I mean, some people notice that immediately. Like, let me read you a little bit here from Deadline. They definitely need a union, says Jennifer Monroe, VP of Unifor Locale 2000, which bills itself as has the Media Union of British Columbia, though it doesn't have a contracting covering animators either. We've been monitoring animation companies to make sure they're not violating any employment standards, and we're reaching out to those workers to see if they need help. Right now, none of the animation studios in Vancouver are unionized. There are other aspects of the industry that are unionized, but animation isn't. And, you know, that's one of the sad things about it, is that they're not union. So, like, the thing is to be expected to be paid and to be treated fairly and all that kind of stuff under the watchful eye of this big union, that doesn't exist apparently. So the thing is that it's kind of free game once you enter into Vancouver, once you enter into Canada and stuff like that. And the thing is, there is another reason, another thing that I want to read something in here that does explain about, like, why they would bring in artists in Vancouver, but I don't know if they would say it in here. But I know that in terms of, like, working in Canada, like, most of the payments are actually covered by the government. And that is why companies like Sony would move their entire, like, visual effects and animation business onto Vancouver, because it's a lot more cheaper to make a movie in Vancouver than it is to work on a movie somewhere in, like, Los Angeles or somewhere in the US, because they don't have to worry too much about high costs, and they don't have to worry about unions to, like, spend all their money just to take care of their animators instead of actually making this movie actually happen. So that's one of the big things, is that Nitrogen, well, not just Nitrogen, but I mean, like, pretty much all the animation studios that's, like, going on in Vancouver and in Canada in general, there needs to be this Canadian animation union. There needs to have one. Well, sorry, I think that was bad grammar there. There has to be one that needs to be made. But the saddest thing about it is that some of you might be wondering, like, why isn't there anybody that's going out there to stand up against, like, this kind of abuse, against this kind of small pay and stuff like that? Like, why isn't anybody standing up to actually make a union? If you want to know why, it's because people are scared. Now, if you may notice that whenever these things are happening, like, whenever these stories happen, is that a lot of animators are too scared to actually stand up and actually, you know, fight against the man in a way. They're too scared to fight up against, like, the abuse to artists and animators and the low pays that they would get, and like, all the ways that the big studios are trying to cut corners in order to make animated films cheap so that they can get a lot more profit. You know, they don't, like, a lot of animators are too scared to do that. And the biggest reason is because, you know, it's for the sake of their job. They want to ensure that they want to have a future, at least, that they can work on another studio so that they can, you know, do their animations and stuff like that. The thing is that studios, they do not want to go and hire they don't want to hire people who snitches on them, who reveal, like, they want to reveal their dark secrets that the making of some of these animated features are terrible, because they don't want to advertise that many of these movies, like a Sausage Party, has pretty much been slave labored in a way. So they don't want to go out and snitch to them by name that this person is responsible for telling the people that the animators at Sausage Party are treated very poorly, because nobody would then go hire them in a way. But honestly, it requires someone. There has to be at least someone to go and stand up, to go and create an animation union or something like that, to stand up and say that they do not want to take this anymore. Like, at least, like, what probably needs is an animator who has nothing to lose, in a sense. Like, an animator who is not afraid to lose everything that he has, and try to go and stand up against them for the sake of the future of animators in Vancouver and the rest of Canada. That's what we need. You know, it's pretty much like this is something that reminds me exactly like in like with YouTube. Like, this is a personal example that I have. Like, we YouTubers have to always have to fight off against the copyright system because we know that it's absolutely bullcrap. We know that the things that we're doing is fair use, but the copyright system is pretty much taking away all the profit we could have been making. We were pretty much losing thousands of dollars because of it, all because of these false claims that have been going on. And then suddenly, it took someone like Doug Walker, the nostalgia critic, to stand up and say that we've had enough with these bullcrap allegations and these bullcrap claims made by these computers for no reason, that we can no longer make a profit off of our videos. And so far, from what I'm seeing, changes are being made to the copyright system. There is some good coming out of where's the fair use from what I'm actually seeing. Like, I actually got a strike not too long ago, and it's actually less punishable than it was like a year ago. So we need someone to at least stand up to go and create a union for the sake of better, for better treatment to animators. Because trust me, like, enthusiastic animators who love what they're doing, who love the process of it, and are treated fairly, and are especially treated with respect, they will enjoy what they're doing, and they will certainly give you an amazing product. And that's the thing, and that's the thing. Like, even with Sausage Party, it didn't come out, like, the animation itself didn't come out all that great. The reason why people are loving it is mostly because of the script instead of the animation. It's just, like I said before, it just looks cheap. Because it is cheap. But yeah, like that's the whole thing, is that there has to be someone out there who needs to stand up against all this, like against all the abuse, against all the cheap labors and stuff like that. We need a union to make sure that the animators be treated fairly. It's not necessarily to be paid, like, not necessarily to be paid like a certain big amount or anything, just to at least have the benefits, to go out and have some, like, all the health benefits that they need, all the proper working conditions that they can have so that they can be comfortable and that they can be happy when working on these on this animated works. And like, I would be, honestly, maybe like, I wish I could do something. I wish I could stand up and actually go out there and make an animation union for all of Canada, but I know this is going to cost a lot of money, and I probably, I know for a fact that I cannot do this alone. I probably need the help of many other animators and, like, many other big business heads to at least help me out to make a proper animation union for Canada. But for now, this is pretty much revealing a dark truth regarding what's pretty much going on, not just with Sausage Party, but basically with the animation industry in general, how it can be a scary place to work on animated projects. Sometimes you'll be in a place where you'll be happy to work there, and sometimes you'll end up making a piece of crap and feeling like a piece of crap doing it. And I know that there are a lot of people saying, like, oh, I see. Oh, there are so many people out there who are not going to support Sausage Party because of all this, when most of the animated films are made that way anyways. Like, that's not necessarily a good thing, okay? That's pretty much the same excuse as when I hear on the internet, like, when you see, like, bad behavior going on. Actually, like, a great recent example is all the racist accusations going on because of Zendaya playing as Mary Jane in the upcoming Spider-Man Homecoming. And, like, when you try to tell someone off that, like, that's not a good thing to do, like, some people would say, like, oh, well, that's the internet, that's how things are. Okay, yeah, like, okay, yes, it's the internet, but that does not give you permission to be a freaking jerk, okay? That does not mean it's okay for you to be a complete douchebag on the internet and be absolutely racist or misogynist or whatever. That just makes you a douche all around, internet or not. And that's the thing, man. So with all that said, honestly, even though I've already posted my review of it, even though I personally enjoyed the movie itself, at this point, I can no longer support Sausage Party. Honestly, from then on, I am no longer gonna go out and show my support of this film. I'm not I don't think I'm gonna mention it in any of my other videos. I'm not gonna do any if the in case of future purposes on Film Book, like if the DVD comes out, I'm not gonna go and review it. Like I'm not gonna do anything about it. Like I've already done my review of the film, and that's pretty much it. I'm no longer gonna give my money to, or like I'm no longer gonna show my support or give my money to Sausage Party. I'm not even gonna recommend people to go watch Sausage Party. I am pretty much taking out my support on the movie whatsoever until something is done, until the animators are properly paid for this, until the animators get the credit that they deserve in the movie, or until something actually until something is actually revealed of what is going on. I can no longer show my support to Sausage Party, and instead, what I'm gonna do now is just for those of you who are wondering, well, if I'm not gonna go, if I cannot watch Sausage Party anymore, then what else is there to watch in theaters? Well, let me tell you guys, just go watch Kubo. Instead of giving your money to Sausage Party, go watch Kubo and the Two Strings. And even though it's not a good excuse, even if you don't think it is a good excuse to go watch Kubo and the Two Strings because you don't want to show support for Sausage Party, I don't care. I just want you to go watch Kubo and the Two Strings. As I'm recording this, I have yet to reveal my entire thoughts in a review, but all I can say right now is just go watch Kubo, okay? Just go watch Kubo. I don't care what the excuse is. Just go watch Kubo. Hey guys, this is Animat. I just want to remind you guys that this is just a little taste of what you can get with the Animation Podcast. This is not all of it. If you guys want to go and listen to the full episodes of the Animation Podcast, then allow me to show you some of the different ways that you can go. First off, you can actually go on the website that it is hosted on, Film Book, so you can go directly onto there. You can also go and check out the official Film Book Podcast YouTube page, so at least you don't have to go away from YouTube and you can listen to the podcast right there. But if you would like to listen on the go, like if you want to listen it to on your phone or on your iPad and all that kind of stuff, then you can listen to it on either iTunes or you can listen to it on Android. So those are all the different options, and if you'd like to have more info, then all you have to do is just check in the description down below. And with all that said, I just want to say thank you guys so much for listening, and until next time, see you later, dudes!